Surprise! Hello! It's so good to see you. I am having the best day. I am learning so much and having so much fun. Our next program is by our wonderful Jonathan Green. Jonathan Green has risen to the occasion for this event so much because he has delivered programs on demand. And by on demand, I mean that I asked him if he could please do a program on our wonderful large Raggedy Anns, which was so great. I loved that so much. Thank you, Jonathan. And then I asked him if he could please do a program on gingerbread. How can we not have a program on gingerbread after we have built this huge gingerbread house for this event? This house has taken on a little life of its own. And when I sit in it, I just love the feeling of we created this. It is right here for this event for you, and it has been so much fun. You might see a little menorah that is there in the very back, and several of our other friends out there, I hope you're watching right now, have sent wonderful ornaments and different things to add to our trees and to the gingerbread house. It is truly a community house, and I hope when you see it, you know that we built this for you. And I hope that you love it. It is such a fun thing to do. So our wonderful Jonathan Green of Jonathan Green and Company did a program for us on gingerbread and the history of gingerbread and some fun gingerbread themed things. So it is such a fun program, and he is just very good at what he does of giving us the facts and the right information. So I really appreciate the studious part of Jonathan Green's vibe. He is such a vibe. And why he is a vibe in this next video is because he is dressed as Santa. More like Father Christmas, actually. He reminds me of a beautiful Victorian Father Christmas scrap that I would make into an ornament and put on my tree. Now that I'm saying this out loud, I think that we need to make Jonathan Green into a Father Christmas scrap and make an ornament for our tree out of him. I think you're gonna agree after you see him in the next video. So we hope you enjoy this so very much. Thank you to Jonathan Green for our next program on the gingerbread house. Well, on gingerbread. Okay, we'll see you there.
Hello, and I was really pleased when Rachel asked me to do this program on gingerbread because gingerbread and gingerbread men have always been favorites of mine. These are two of my childhood gingerbread men's. These are by Claire Creations. They are from the early 1960s. These gingerbread men are relatively hard to find. I won't say rare, but they are hard to find. The much more common gingerbread men are by Knickerbocker, who did a gingerbread man and a gingerbread woman. But anyway, as much as I enjoy gingerbread and love talking about it and certainly love eating it, I thought it would be best to bring in an expert to talk to you about gingerbread. So without further ado, I am going to hand this program over to him. Gingerbread has been around nearly as long as I have. The first mention of gingerbread is in the 1200s. Originally, this would have been a flourless cake made with ground nuts and honey. This was developed by monks as a special treat for the Christmas season, and this very sticky dough would have been baked on a communion wafer. And even today, Lebkuchen are baked on these very, very thin wafers. Now, gingerbread was very appropriate for the Christmas season and the winter season because it is filled with what is known as warming spices. Cinnamon, cloves, ginger, even black pepper were used, and these have a tendency to make you feel very warm inside. Now, they were also very expensive because these spices had to come from exotic areas, and not surprisingly, Nuremberg was the center of trade. So all these spices would have gone through Nuremberg, making Nuremberg the gingerbread capital of Europe. These cakes also required the use of honey, and because of the geographic location of Nuremberg, there were a lot of beekeepers around. Modeling gingerbread by hand was one of the skills that a guild member of the 1500s was required to have. In addition to modeling the gingerbread by hand, gingerbread would be made in these cookie molds that were generally carved out of a fruit wood board. There would be numerous motifs on one side so that you could make several cookies at once, and then there were more motifs on the other, so you could utilize both sides of the board. These molds often had a religious theme of either St. Nicholas or the Christkindl or the Christ child. And of course, the St. Nicholas's friend, if you want, Krampus, was also used as a figure for these molds. During the Industrial Revolution, metal cookie cutters were designed, and this made it much easier to cut fanciful shapes out of the flat dough. This could then be decorated with icing, and some of the icing work was really quite artistic, as can be seen in these two examples that come from postcards approximately 1910. Now, the other thing that the Industrial Revolution brought was the ability to make the cookies in large numbers, and many factories were created to make Lebkuchen and Pfeffernussen, etc. These were sold in beautifully illustrated metal tins, and it was important to keep the cookies in a metal tin because their flavor actually becomes better with time when stored in a metal tin. These are not cookies that, as a rule, one wants to eat directly out of the oven. Now, the other thing that the Industrial Revolution brought was the ability to do color printing. And the color scraps that could be printed were often put directly onto a rectangle of gingerbread as an easy but very eye-catching way of selling the cookies. And of course, with the Industrial Revolution came innovative ways of selling the Lebkuchen. And one of these is this Lebkuchen dispensing machine in the shape of Hansel and Gretel and the gingerbread house. If you put a 10-pfennig coin in and turn the knob, out would come a small piece of gingerbread, probably not wrapped at this time. But this is an innovative way of selling gingerbread. Lebkuchen, of course, have always been a staple of the German Christmas markets. The colorful icing designs and the fragrant scent make them a natural for such a selling venue, and they continue to be popular today. I will have to say that if you go to a German Christmas market, on the plus side, those elaborately decorated hearts taste a heck of a lot better than the American heavily decorated cookies you find in a supermarket. But you're still probably better off, if you want to purchase for taste, buying the plastic bag of plain gingerbread rather than one of those elaborately decorated cookies, which are more for show than for taste.
Well, thank you, Jonathan. That was so educational and endearing. I enjoyed it while eating some ginger snaps while sitting in my gingerbread house. I never thought in a million years that I'd be saying that in my gingerbread house, but it's here. And now I know all about the history and I can appreciate it so much more. So thank you so much, and we'll see you at the next program, everybody.